Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to this Astrology, Human Design, and Gene Keys channel with me today, Tan. And today we're going to be diving deeper into Gene Key 62 and Human Design Gate 62. So Gene Key 62 spans 20-45 degrees of Cancer to 26-22 degrees of Cancer. It has a shadow called Intellect, a gift of precision, and a Siddhi of Impeccability, the language of light. The dream arc vision key bird is the woodpecker. The life key animal is the lynx, and the fear key underworld creature is the rattlesnake. Notice the sounds that all of these animals make, by the way. In the codon ring, this gene key is part of the ring of no return, and it's associated with the amino acid tyrosine. In the 64 I Ching hexagram, this hexagram is thunder over mountain, small powers. The spiritual transmission channels through mindful stillness and heartfelt gratitude. That's really beautiful. The programming partner of this gene key is gene key 61, and that is, of course, the zodiac sign of Capricorn. So I highly recommend that you also check out the video that I make on gene key 61 as well, because the programming partner sits at the opposite point of the zodiac wheel, offering a balancing, complementary, opposite energy to this archetype of gene key 62. In human design, this gate is located in the throat center, and it's part of a channel that connects to gate 17 in the ajna, called a channel of organization or acceptance, moving from the shadow of dismemberment to the gift of organization to the city of holism. All right, so if you have this particular archetype, gene key somewhere in your profile, you are going to be someone who is quite, we can say, flawless. Okay, I like to use that word. Almost flawless in the way that you do things, in how you say things. And of course, this takes practice, but this also takes a lot of the heart. And the reason for this is because you put your heart and your emotions in what you do and what you say, not just your mind. That makes it flawless, right? So I've noticed that people who have gene key 62 somewhere are a bit on the shyer end of their expression. They're not going to be like very authoritative in the way that they speak or do things. They're a little bit softer, poetic nature about them. Now, they can also be quite perfectionistic, a perfectionist in that sense as well. And that's kind of the lower end of things, where they're just picky and very hard to please, we can say. Needy, maybe even a little bit as well. But let's begin looking at this gene key, of course, from the shadow frequency here, as we all do with all the gene keys. And the shadow here is called intellect. Now, a lot of people, when they hear that the shadow of gene key 62 is intellect, what? How is intellect a shadow? So I wanted to say, first of all, here that intellect is not the same as intelligence. And we're going to be looking at this as we talk about this gene key as well, is that intelligence is not considered a shadow. Intelligence is a beautiful thing to have, but intellect, that's different from intelligence. So when we look at the 64 gene keys, when we look at the first two gene keys, they come in a pair. They begin the gene keys journey code, gene key 1, gene key 2. And then we have gene key 63 and 64, which come as a pair to end the gene keys code. And everything in between that is where all the juice lies, we can say. Gene key 62 is right before gene key 63. So yes, it comes before gene key 63, which means that it does hold, it's like a dictionary, or not dictionary, a glossary or a dictionary of all of the gene keys. So therefore, it holds so therefore, we can say that gene key 62 holds layers and layers of coded information about the meaning and purpose of the cosmos, because that's what the gene keys is all about. And gene key 62 kind of holds all that like a glossary. So simply put, gene key 62 can be summarized as an archetype of the glossary of the gene keys themselves. So this book, is gene key 62, kind of like that. Okay, I'm going to read this quote about how Richard Rudd describes the gene keys in general. So you can see what kind of language gene key 62 is holding So he says that the gene keys are the living language of light that lies at the foundation of the universe. The 64-bit matrix is the core structural principle behind all art, science, and natural phenomena. All human languages and vocabularies have emerged out of this primary alphabet of consciousness. So the different words in the gene keys that you see here, they are we can say the alphabet of consciousness. Oh, it's beautiful. And this is the gold in Gene Key 62. It's to be able to use words in this way. It's to be able to say something like, the Gene Keys is the alphabet of consciousness. This is a Gene Key 62 gift. But of course, before we get there, we have to look at the shadow of intellect first. So the language of the universe, right, is not something that we can learn just from the mind alone. It's not like human language that you can just study in a school and you can learn, but even human language, you can't really learn from the mind alone as well. We have to be aware of that, because when you're talking to another person, right, even if you don't know that language very well, sometimes you have amazing communication because you're reading their body language, you're reading the emotions behind what they say. There's a lot that goes on in communication. And when it comes to like languages of the universe, we have to be able to embody the language of the universe in our physical body. We have to live it, breathe it in order to fully understand it. It's not just about knowing it with the mind. So intellect can be described as having two main objectives. First is to acquire facts. And second is to manipulate those facts that you've acquired via language. Intelligence, remember we said there's a difference between this. Intelligence, however, is the way that your body works, the way that you move your limbs. They have a natural intelligence to them. It's in the brightness of your eyes. It's in the freedom of your expression that just comes out naturally. This is intelligence, which is different from intellect. Intelligence is a reservoir of genius. However, what happens when and everybody is born with this type of amazing intelligence within their body, within their expression. But the moment you go to school, of course, here we go again with the schooling, the modern day schooling, and you become homogenized to have to learn the same things as everybody else, to acquire the same kinds of knowledge. And sometimes you even have to compete to remember all of this knowledge that's been fed to you. What happens is that this education system begins to slowly repress the natural human intelligence. The same information is being fed to everybody in the same way, which then neurologically programs our brains to then slowly operate in the same way and the same way of thinking. So therefore, we can even look at this as that intelligence is something of the heart and of the body, whereas intellect is purely of the mind. So we see how intellect in the school systems is crushing intelligence. So when you're in the shadow of intellect, you fall into the realm of the mind. You become obsessed with facts, language, names, things that can be proven and seen, science. And in the worst case scenario of the shadow of intellect, you become somebody who tries to understand the mysteries of the world through science. And if you cannot, then you just dismiss anything that's considered mysterious and cannot be proven by science entirely. And I do know somebody who has their son in Gene Key 62. He's a Cancer. He has son in Gene Key 62 and does not believe in astrology and is kind of against astrology and religion because it's not factual or scientific. And he's a bit of a perfectionist as well. So this leads to scientific intellectualism, which is the shadow here. And the other shadow that we can see here is the ability to abuse through language. This doesn't mean that you abuse other people with language, but it means that language abuses you. Because language relies upon frequency. Language has a lot to do with frequency. If you identify too much with your thoughts, then you become somebody who puts this limitation on what you can and cannot do in your life. And our thoughts are something that have been programmed through school, through family, throughout our entire lives. If you identify too much and we don't allow ourselves to have this paradigm shift to dive into the unknown, then we're going to be living our entire life through conditioning, We're going to be living our life, for example, making decisions through the mind, trying to understand other people through the mind, trying to understand the mysteries of life through the mind. This is all part of the conditioning. So we can have a repressive and a reactive shadow, and you're going to have both. You're going to switch back and forth if you have Gene Key 62. In the repressive shadow, this is called obsessive. So to be obsessive means here that you're just focusing on the small things. You're too busy focusing on all the details of everything. So for an example here might be that, you're trying to create a project or do a project, right? But you can never really finish this project because every time that a little detail goes wrong, you have to fix it right away. And in order to make it perfect in your mind in some ways, you don't really allow for spontaneity or the emotions or the spirit to come into that project that you're creating. So that's kind of like, the obsession with details. And the reason behind this is that you use details to avoid as a way to escape feeling your own suffering. Whatever it is that's lying deeper within you, you don't want to feel that. So you focus on the details in order to push that away. You begin to live a life with a lot of detail and not much creative outlet. You can become mentally ill in this case as well. And you'll also notice when these people who are in the obsessive state, when they speak, they're very, I will use the word boring to listen to, because they're the type of speakers that are very monotonous. They don't have any facial expressions. They don't have a spirit, a soul, or an emotion when they speak because they're too busy making sure that they got all the facts correct, they got all the numbers correct, they're using the exact correct words, that the syntax of their sentence is correct, that you just are like, okay, I don't want to listen to this person anymore. I'm getting a lot of information there, but I can't even keep up with the information that they're giving because it's so boring. It's very that much of an energy there. You could also have the reactive shadow here, which is called pedantic. And that means that you use your intellect to attack things outside of yourself. So in order to defend a deeper insecurity inside of you, you are very good at finding obscure details and facts to disprove and disempower others. You are utterly unable to switch off your mind. And the reason why you're focusing on other people so much and wanting to use obscure facts and details to disempower them is because you don't want to have to look inside of yourself. There's a deep rage that's hidden within, if you're in this shadow of the reactive shadow. So how can we move from this shadow of intellect into the gift of precision? The first thing that you can do to move from intellect to precision is that when you are in those obsessive states of the repressive shadow, allow that obsessive mind that's focusing on all those details to become obsessed with the question of why are you obsessed? So become obsessed with the reason behind your own obsession. That will allow you to break out of that chain of obsession. It will lead to a complete transformation in your attitudes and in your lifestyle. And the second way to move from intellect into precision is to realize that by focusing on these minute details and on everything and everyone else except your own pain, you are continuing the pain to exist inside of you. You are causing your own misery. So you have to begin to take responsibility for your own behavior and allow a softening process to happen. Allow the feminine side of you to happen, to hold. Allow yourself to hold yourself when you're feeling your pain, feeling your suffering, instead of resorting to the obsessions of the mind and the details of other people and things outside of yourself. So when you are in this gift of precision, intelligence realizes intelligence, as what Richard Rudd calls it. And what this means is that when you look at, for example, something in nature like a tree, in the shadow of intellect, all you see in that tree are the facts of the tree. What family does this tree come from? What species does it belong to? How does it look? To your eye, you notice the branches, the twigs, the leaves of the tree. And these are all very, very important things that you have to know as well. But you also have to balance that out by understanding the spirit behind that tree. You have to be able to take the tree into your being as well. You have to feel its aliveness, feel its mysterious aura, not just knowing about it, but feel it. So a really good thing that I think people with Gene Key 62 would really love to do or could practice doing is hugging trees. So when you go into nature, of course, you might want to say, oh, this is an oak tree, you know, this is a pine. And then go over and hug the tree. Feel that the tree hugs you back. Feel how cozy and comforting it is to hug a tree. Smell the tree. Just get really close with your nose and actually smell it and touch it with your hands. Allow the spirit of the tree to, you know, come into your being. This will allow you to see life in a completely new way. And this practice will allow you to communicate in a way that is no longer boring. Like I mentioned previously, when you're in the gift of precision, you're able to communicate something when you're describing something in a way that is inspirational and exciting rather than dull and dry and boring. And also, the key to communicating with more precision is exactness and efficiency and economy. So using less words, maybe even shorter sentences, less jargon, so that everybody can understand easily and everybody can feel what you're trying to say through with their heart and their emotions as much as with their mind. And you will become somebody who can communicate seamlessly, almost flawlessly. And you will begin to develop your gift as communicator, writer, poet, artist, dancer, or scientist, whatever that is. You'll be able to do it with the utmost flawlessness, seamlessness, precision. And you will naturally be in the limelight, be in the spotlight, kind of like the woodpecker. Like I said, when somebody has displayed work that's truly precise in this description of precision and almost impeccability, everybody can't help but be in awe and just want to look at you and want to put you in the spotlight. And when you're in this gift of precision, what's happening is that the heart is leading the way. When you're communicating, the heart is in the lead, but you use logic to help structure that heart. When you're in the gift of precision, you are able to access the language of light that exists behind all forms. So this is almost like the ability to manifest with your words and with your language, almost like when you create a spell. When you do spell work and you have to say certain phrases, when you have to say certain affirmations, why do we do that? Because when you do that in a state of, okay, if you just say something and you want to manifest something and you create a spell and you say it, but you don't let it vibrate in your heart, nothing's going to happen, right? But once you allow those words to vibrate in your heart, magic can happen. Those things that you say, they actually come true and they actually manifest in the real world. Every word has an inner spirit. The moment that a word or a group of words or a sentence is given voice, its vibration radiates out into the universe and there is no return. And we all know this. You can't take back the words that you have said. If you have Gene Key 62 in your profile somewhere at some point in your life, you will feel this calling to understand the Gene Keys language, whether that is just understanding for yourself or whether that is for you to actually communicate this language of light to others. And with this Gene Key, the higher the energy frequency you're in, the less words you have to use in order to communicate what you want to communicate, and your language takes on a beautiful simplicity to it. And that is truly precision. So it's interesting because the moment I said that, I was thinking like, a simple phrase like, I love you, right? Can be said, I love you. Or it can be said, I love you. Or it can be said, I've had this feeling for a while now, and I've been wanting to share this with you, and I just wanted to find the right way to share it with you. It's just this feeling that's been going on inside of me, and I guess what I'm trying to say here is that our relationship has escalated from falling in love to now becoming this part of our relationship where I can actually feel that I love you. So which one is it going to be, Gene Key 62? Which one is it going to be? All right, let's move to the Siddhi of Impeccability. So like I mentioned, with all the siddhis, I don't want to spend too much time on it because the siddhi is a state of being that is kind of like enlightenment. And so the more that you are playing out the role of the gift of each of the gene keys, the siddhi will naturally dawn upon you. And you almost don't have to do anything anymore when you're in the siddhi of each of the gene keys. And so impeccability. Here, Richard Rudd describes it as meaning that you are exempt from doing sin. It means that you have truly disappeared. So therefore, no sin can be done from you or upon you anymore. There is truly no one at home. There is only pure consciousness that lives inside of you. And Richard Rudd describes that when you're in the Siddhi of Impeccability, words don't come from the mind anymore. They come from this place of pure nakedness, a void inside of you. So when you're in the Siddhi of Impeccability, you have the power to be able to use language in a really extraordinary way. And that is using language in a way to highlight the illusion of how the human mind operates and bringing understanding that every single cell in the universe is a divine language. Like every cell in my hair is a word. In and of itself, it's a divine word. So you become the master of divine language, we'll say. And I want to read a quote here that I feel really describes this energy of impeccability, whether that is in dance or art or food that you make or the way that you communicate, whatever it is that you create. When it has this energy of impeccability, this is what it feels like. And that's what it feels like. It feels like every movement or breath is an emanation of pure light, where there are intelligent line of force that move and flow without resistance. So the lesser the resistance in a piece of work that you have created, and the more pure light that can be seen from it and lesser resistance, is the more impeccable it becomes. There is no longer anything out of place within that creation, that work of art, or if it is just your being in general, the being who is in the Siddhi of Impeccability has no more resistance, and there is no longer anything that's out of place within your being. And if you want to live this impeccable life, you can say, in any way, whatever that's happening within your life, it's no longer out of place. This is impeccability, flawlessness. So that's going to be the transmission of Gene Key 62. If you have this archetype, then do comment below. Let us know what your experiences have been. If you'd like this video, then give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't. If you already subscribed, then thank you very much, beautiful souls, for coming along on these amazing astrology, human design, Gene Keys journeys. I appreciate you more than you can ever imagine. And if you guys appreciate the effort that I've put into making these videos for you, then feel free to also consider giving me a super thanks. I would really, really appreciate that as well. It's in the tabs below the video. If you're interested in getting any kind of reading or joining any of our courses and programs, then do head over to my website, tanastrology.com. All right. Well, sending everybody so much impeccability today, and I'll see you very soon, beautiful souls.